In today's video, I'm going to be talking about why I no longer do this myself and why I think that most people who do it are probably getting some gains and probably, getting something out of it, but aren't getting as much as they actually think. Hi, I'm Matt. Welcome back to Brit vs. Japan. And today, I'm going to be discussing my sort of experience with listening to a language during my sleep and why I no longer do this. For the longest time, I took the advice from the original All Japanese All the Time creator, Katsumoto, who suggested that listening in your sleep might help, and basically essentially there's no harm in not trying it, because what's the worst case scenario? You don't learn some Japanese. And I did do a blog post on this a few years ago, which I found some papers that suggest that this could possibly be a thing, but it's not really there's not enough data really to warrant saying that it is definitely a thing. And my takeaway from it was really the same. It was the case of like, well, if it could work, then why not do it? And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't really matter, because you're sleeping. You're not really losing anything out on this. And since then, my thoughts have kind of changed, and there's a few reasons for this. So one of the main reasons for my thoughts changing on this topic is because as time went on, I've progressed enough in Japanese that it makes it very difficult for me to actually go to sleep when I'm listening to something in Japanese. If I'm listening to an audiobook or a TV show that I've converted to an MP3 or a podcast, my mind is so focused on that content, because I can now understand it like I would in English, that I find it very difficult to go to sleep. It's kind of, I don't know, some people find that it's easier for them to go to sleep with the TV on in the background. For me, I can't do that. If it's on, I get so attracted to what's going on and focused on it that it keeps me awake and it ruins my sleep. Sleep quality is incredibly important. This is something that isn't really talked about much in the language learning community. A well-known linguist that I refer to a lot, Dr. Stephen Krashen, who's done brilliant work on the input hypothesis and how we actually acquire languages, has talked about how people who are feeling negative emotions, or not necessarily feeling like they can acquire a language, or are feeling sad, depressed, or whatever, they're in a bad mental state, find it much harder to acquire language. So naturally, people with better sleep, who have a better sort of outlook on life because they are getting better sleep, are going to be much more inclined to acquire more language. Sleep is incredibly important. You need to be getting a decent amount of sleep. There's so much science backed behind this that it's a no-brainer to get decent amounts of sleep. I would definitely get 8 hours of sleep every day, then get 5 hours of sleep in favor of 3 hours of extra listening. I don't think that extra 3 hours of listening, if you wake up early, outweighs the 3 hours of sleep that you're losing. You need decent quality sleep to be able to rest your brain, to reconcile all the things you've learned that day. Especially if you're someone who's learning a language and pummeling your brain with a ton of language, you need to give your brain a rest. You need to sleep. You need that quality sleep. So personally now, I value my sleep time and the quality of sleep far more than whether or not I'm listening to enough Japanese or not. I would rather feel good about myself and feel decent and feel healthy and feel, alive the next day than feel absolutely horrible, but get a few more hours of listening material in on that day. So definitely get more sleep. And focus on the quality of sleep, and that also leads into the aspect of listening during your sleep. Should you be doing that? Well, again, I don't know how much listening during your sleep it's affecting your brain. If it's keeping your brain switched on and keeping it so it's processing language as you're sleeping, that doesn't seem like a good thing to me. It feels like if your brain's still switched on throughout sleep, even though it's probably not as much as if you're awake, obviously. You're taking away from that rest time that it needs, and you're taking away from the quality of sleep that you're trying to get and that you should be maintaining if you're trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle and a healthy sort of aspect during the whole process of learning a language. Health during language learning is something that isn't really talked about at all, and I think it's very important. The healthier a person you are, the healthier your brain and your mind is going to be, and the quicker you're probably going to acquire the language. I don't know this for a fact, but I can imagine that is probably the case. So essentially nowadays, I don't do sleep listening. If I really struggle to go to sleep, I might put on something like rain noises or whatever just to sort of fall into sleep. But then my phone will turn off after 30 minutes or whatever. And so I don't want to affect my personal quality of sleep. I want to make sure I get a decent amount of sleep. As I said back in the day, back in that old blog post, the only real benefit to this is if it doesn't actually work, then that benefit is the amount of listening you're getting when you are trying to get to sleep and the amount of listening you're getting when you wake up from sleep. These two things are, very powerful. Over time, it does add up. Those hours do add up, and you obviously get a lot more listening if you do that. And it's also very easy to continue the next day, immersing yourself into Japanese when you wake up with it already surrounded, already in your ears. So it is something that, I don't necessarily think is a completely bad idea, and I wouldn't outrule it. I wouldn't say just don't do it outright. I would say this is more of a personal choice, whether you want to do this or not. At the end of the day, I don't think it matters a huge amount. The quality of sleep that you're losing from listening to something in your sleep probably is very negligible. And the gains that you're getting if sleep listening does work, again, is probably very negligible. You're probably not gaining much, and you're probably not losing much. So I don't think it's something to really worry about a whole bunch. But at the end of the day, decide yourself whether you want to do this or not. Personally, I've made a decision not to. I would rather just focus on getting to sleep and not have to worry about something so strange and obscure as this. But if you're someone who's, I know what it's like. I was in that, stage of obsessed with Japanese. I wanted to learn as much as I could. If you're in that stage, then sure, go ahead and do it. It's, really up to you. So yeah, guys, I hope you found this video interesting or helpful. I hope you got some insight to my thoughts and ideas around the topic, and why I no longer do it. As I said before, for me, really, it's just a case of if I try and listen during my sleep, I just get distracted and I can't get to sleep because I'm so attentive to the material that I'm listening to, and I end up just paying attention to that more than actually getting to sleep, and I end up losing sleep time, and I end up feeling like crap the next day. So for me personally, the losses outweigh the gains. For you, if you're someone who can fall straight away to sleep and you're not worried about possibly losing any quality of sleep during listening during your sleep, then by all means, go ahead and do it. I don't think it's really that much of an issue. So let me know if you found this video helpful, what your thoughts are on this topic down below in the description. Leave a like if you did find the video interesting. If you are interested in learning more about learning languages and you want to know exactly how to learn Japanese, you're not really sure what you should be doing, then check out the other content on this channel. Check out my Patreon as well. There's a lot of good content on there, including the Sentence Bank, where I have a ton of Sebster SRS Anki flashcard decks, which are pre-made decks from all the popular animes and TV shows that you can find in Japan. If there's anything that's missing, you can submit your suggestions and I'll try and make a deck based on whatever show it is that you are interested in. So definitely check that out. Thank you very much to all the people supporting me on Patreon, especially Harry and everybody else over on there. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. And also, if you're watching this far ahead, check out my second channel. I've got a podcast over there that you might like. You might want to submit your questions to me to answer on the podcast. So go check that out. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.